support uncrewed operations as needed. So from that standpoint, that additional risk compared to how we've flown in the past is well understood. You know, we generally do, and we like to have U.S. EVA capability at the ready to respond to additional failures. And in those particular cases, we would have a delayed response to one of those significant failures if we had them on board. That, of course, the vehicle is very fault tolerant. So not only we would have to have a major subsequent failure, but then a failure after that before we had a real contingency on board ISS, which is why, you know, as we evaluated the situation, we decided it made a lot more sense to protect for a situation that we knew was something we needed to deal with, rather than something of a likelihood that we deemed lower than normal. And also the crew on board, both Russian and American, are well trained to operate in the environment that they're in and can operate the nominal systems, the nominal research per the plan until their crewmates arrive on Crew 12.
Next question is from Anthony Leon from Spectrum News. Go ahead. Your line's open.
Hello, that's Leone. Thank you so much, all three, for taking the time to speak with us today. My question is, I guess, for Mr. Isaacman. Going forward, will NASA consider having an actual medical officer, MD, on board the ISS and future space missions? And this is for Dr. Polk. How's the crew equipped to dealing with medical issues that were to come up in this situation? Can you sort of explain how they're able to help this astronaut who had this medical issue? Thank you.
So, I mean, to just address from my portion in this, all of our astronauts go through extensive medical training. There is, as I described before, a lot of capabilities on the International Space Station that our astronauts interact with routinely, whether it's part of their science research obligations or just training simulations for these type of contingencies. I don't think if one of our astronauts on board was a medical doctor, it would have changed anything as it relates to our decision process on this. I think that speaks to their level of training. Also, our teams on the ground. We have flight surgeons, and not to mention numerous other surgeons and doctors that are available to weigh in on these type of situations. So, I mean, I think simply put, if you have enough people in a challenging environment of microgravity for now approaching, or exceeding a quarter of a century, certain situations will develop that, almost regardless of the on-orbit capabilities, you're gonna take the correct action to bring them home. And I think that's worth reinforcing too, that we are exercising the capabilities that were designed into the International Space Station at will right now. So we can bring our crew home early in a safe way, not in an emergency, to its nominal landing site, because they largely completed their mission objectives. We can evaluate Crew 12, which is weeks away, potentially pull them forward, and do so and operate the station in its intended environment. We have an American astronaut on board. It's why they fly on Soyuz. It's why we fly Roscosmos astronauts on our vehicle. And as Amit pointed out before, this is also an environment that we operated the space station on for many, many years prior to our current Crew Dragon capabilities. And I don't know if you want to add anything else on that, Doctor. Okay.
And before we leap back to the phone bridge, I have a question from Laura Kolodny of CNBC, who's having a bit of trouble accessing it. She asks, ISS is operating in a roughly neutral power mode at the moment, and the upgrade was to get power positive. What will happen now with regards to the solar array?
Not sure about the neutral power mode. Space station, the intent of the EVA that was coming was to augment the 2 alpha solar array with a great new technology, the rollout solar arrays, which we added to the vehicle in order to configure the vehicle for future expansion for commercial activity. So the baseline power configuration of the station is well above the expected margins that we needed to. This EVA was not a contingency that was planned. It was a nominal augmentation of the power system, which we've done on 5 of the other arrays. And that rollout array that was going to be installed is really an amazing piece of hardware. We've used Space Station, as the administrator said, as an incredible test bed for exploration, as well as to help stimulate commercial space activity. And that array design is something we've used. Many other companies have used that exact array design. And so we're continuing the suite of the upgrades we had planned on ISS, but there's by no means urgency that the 2 alpha array has to be upgraded given the current power config of the vehicle.
And we can return back to the phone bridge now for virtual questions.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mike Wall from space.com. Go ahead, your line is open.
Thank you very much. This is probably for Dr. Polk. This is the first medical evacuation from the ISS, but are there any incidents over the 25-year history of astronauts on the station that you can kind of look to for guidance or to kind of draw up protocols?
Yeah, actually, we've had a host of different things that we have treated on orbit, and fortunately for us, we've had equipment and medications and things to be able to handle all of those, such that we were able to complete the treatment and or the diagnosis on orbit over the last 25 years. And common things occur commonly, right? Folks could have a toothache, folks could have ear pain. There are things that you see commonly on the ground as well over a 6-month period, and in urgent care can happen in space as well. But we are very good at forecasting and having the correct medical equipment and the medications to be able to handle those. And so we've had, although we've had multiple different medical things that we've worked over the last 25 years, all of those have been worked to completion on orbit and without incident.
The next question is from Marina Corin from Freelance Journalist. Go ahead, your line's open.
Hi, thank you. This question is for Dr. Polk. Could you give us a sense of what the affected crew member will experience over the next couple of days? Have they been told to stop working? How often will they be talking to medical personnel on the ground? And will any of the crew members be asked to provide them with medical support? Thank you.
I couldn't hear that either.
The question was if we are monitoring the crew member, are we restricting any of their activities, such that's all.
Yeah, I won't really go into a lot of detail on that one because I think that gives maybe too much detail to allude towards a diagnosis or skirts up close to the privacy aspects. Certainly the crew surgeons are monitoring the crew member and they will amend or alter anything that they see fit on the crew member if they need to. But the crew member, again, is absolutely stable. And so, I don't foresee massive changes to the timeline or their activities.
Next question is from Marcia Smith from spacepolicyonline.com. Go ahead, your line's open.
Thanks so much for taking my question. I'm guessing this is probably for Amit. I'm curious, so Chris Williams is going to be the only American up there, and he's going to have the whole U.S. segment to look after. And I'm curious, are there certain experiments or something you're going to have to set aside because he's the only one there? And have the Russians been trained at all on the American segment that they could help him out if necessary?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. There will be some. Of course, a full complement crew can do a lot more work. And so in terms of the amazing research we do on the vehicle, so we will have to adjust the timeline for that single crew operation. But Chris is trained to do every task that we would ask him to do on the vehicle. Of course, we also do a lot of the operations of the vehicle from our various control centers all over the world, including commercial control centers that operate a lot of our research payloads. So he will have thousands of people looking over his shoulder like our crews do all the time to help sure that they continue the groundbreaking science. To your question about the Russian crew members, historically we had in the past we had trained the Russian crew members to higher levels. In terms of their ability to operate uniquely on their own U.S. systems, that's something we used to do in the past, and we kind of put that aside as we swelled the size of the U.S. crew complements. But the Russians that are on board with him, first of all, they've trained tightly together. They're a great team. They work really well together. But they also have qualification to operate the U.S. systems in an advisory mode or an assistant mode, and can, if needed, be called upon with the assistance of MCC Houston or MCC Moscow to assist in any operations.
Next question is from Ryan Kenton from NASA Spaceflight.com. Go ahead, your line's open.
Thanks very much for doing this, Ryan Caton, NSF. For the administrator, in your opening remarks, you mentioned that you made the decision to bring the crew home early. I was just wondering if you could provide any information as to why you made that decision, of course, if you were able to, while remaining anonymous. Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you ask at what point in time that decision was arrived at?
I was just wondering if you could provide any information as to why you made that decision specifically while remaining anonymous.
Generically asking whether risk trade, I think we addressed that. But.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you for that. I think no matter what, at any point or any phase of the expedition, had the situation presented itself, we would arrive at the exact same conclusion. I will say that it certainly made it that much easier and faster when you already have a crew that has done a fantastic job at achieving their on-orbit objectives. You have Crew 12 that's quickly approaching the launch. So I think that made it very easy from our perspective to trade the crew complement on orbit for just a matter of weeks longer versus ensuring that our crew is down here on Earth where they can get the best possible care and treatment if required.
I think we have time for just a couple more questions, so I'll turn it back over to the phone bridge.
Our next question is from Robert Perlman from Collect Space. Go ahead, your line's open.
Thank you. For the administrator and for Dr. Polk, first, because it involves crew members from other countries, was JAXA and Roscosmos, did they need to sign off on the plan to come home early, or were they consulted at all? And for Dr. Polk, you mentioned, or it's been described that the crew member was stable. Was he or she always in a stable condition, or were there any actions needed to be taken aboard the space station, if you could say, without going into detail, that arrived at them being in a stable condition?
So first, with respect to our international partners, I think JAXA held a news conference earlier today where they were able to speak about some of the information we put out. So I think that just speaks to the communication and the sharing of information that's been taking place across what is the International Space Station. So I think they've been, lockstep with us the entire journey. Will continue to be as we evaluate the exact deorbit timeline for the vehicle. And as we consider possibilities as it relates to the Crew 12 mission. And with that, Doctor.
Yeah, I think the administrator covered this earlier, but I won't go into specific details about the medical incident itself, but the crew is highly trained, and they came to the aid of their colleague right away. And that's part of why we do that training, and we do it with every increment.
Next question is from Manuel Mazzanti from Exploración Espacial. Go ahead, your line's open.
Thank you so much. Manuel Mazzanti from Exploración Espacial. A question for Administrator Isaacman. I wonder if you can provide more details. If this decision was consensual with a crew member that was not feeling well, and now that the decision, that the situation is stable, I don't know if this crew member was insisting on staying. I'm feeling well, I want to stay up to the remaining of the mission, and then unilaterally NASA decided, no, is it better for all of you to come back earlier? Can you provide more details on that decision? Thank you.
So I think, as we mentioned before, obviously this was a serious medical condition. That is why we're pursuing this path. Crew member is stable, as we mentioned. We're not electing an emergency deorbit, but obviously, as we've already communicated, the capability to diagnose and treat this properly does not live on the International Space Station. And I think there's pretty broad agreement across our experts here on the ground, as well as the crew members in space. So I think there's complete alignment around that point.
And we have time for just one more question, so we will toss it to the phone bridge for David's question.
Our last question is from David Curley from Full Throttle. Go ahead, your line's open.
Dr. Polk, I know you're in the middle of an incident. A little early to talk about lessons learned, but we've talked about diagnostics. Have you decided Are there diagnostic tools? Is there something that's coming with AI that might help with this kind of situation in the future? What are you thinking about beyond this incident?
Yeah, that's a great question. As the administrator mentioned before, we're always learning new things with each increment, and that's the value of the International Space Station. And we are looking at AI, we are looking at all tools, and of course, medical hardware, medical technology evolves over the years very rapidly, and of course with AI even more so over the last several years. And so we're looking at all potential technologies, including AI, to augment the crew's health and safety, especially as we get to Moon and Mars. And that'll be the advantage to the Moon as well, is to use it as a test bed for many of these technologies on our way to Mars.
And with that last question, I will turn the floor over to Administrator Isaacman for any closing remarks.
I appreciate everybody responding and being on site and with good questions right now. As I mentioned before, we are exercising the capabilities that we have pioneered over the life of the International Space Station. We have the ability to bring our crew member home under these circumstances in a very planned and controlled way. We have the ability to evaluate Crew 12 and their timeline and look for opportunities to potentially pull that forward if required. The International Space Station and the way we design our crew complements between the vehicles is meant for this type of circumstance. That's why we will retain an American crew member to interact with the American segments, and that's also why we fly Russian and international crew members on our vehicles. So this is proceeding exactly as designed. This is how we train for these type of situations routinely. And what you're seeing right now is NASA communicating and being as transparent as we possibly can. And as soon as we have updates as to the next big milestones are going to be determining our reentry timeline, we will be the first to share it with you, and we will do the same with respect to our Crew 12 timeline. And thank you.
And that concludes today's briefing. Thank you.